I've posted a handful of videos of when we were in the beginning stages of planning our house. A lot has happened since then. I didn't post a lot of videos at the beginning. I posted a ton of day by day pictures on Instagram, on my Instagram account, which is at Becca Mahler, Beccamauller, no spaces, dashes, or dots. Day by day of what was happening, and it went really fast. We were in our house from the beginning, from dig day to the day we got our keys was 118 days, which is amazing. It was very quick. Of course, that doesn't mean we didn't have some bumps in the road. It wasn't perfect. Most of it went really well. I don't really have complaints, and what I'm going to share today, which are our bumps in the road, they're not complaints. It's just things that I didn't necessarily expect, something that came up, or what have you. The first one I'll talk about is we started. So I didn't do a lot of videos, and the reasons are various, but COVID and the stress of working at home and sometimes in the office, and we actually lost my father-in-law at the week before our dig date, so I'd kind of put a pause on prioritizing videos and whatnot, but once we didn't have any issues with the foundation, the digging. We didn't come across anything crazy that was going to add to our costs, so we were thankful for that. It took a while to get the crew here to do the dig because they were behind on some jobs. Once we started framing, everything went up really quick. They had a really good crew that did our framing. It's really solid. We're pleased with it. Right as we were getting the drywall hung is when it started to get chilly outside. So we had a lot of struggles with Duke Energy and getting our electric changed from temporary to permanent. Without that permanent heat, they couldn't turn on, or permanent electric, they couldn't turn on our furnace. So we didn't have heat in the house when it started getting cold, and that's exactly when they started doing the mudding. So we were told we needed to provide temporary heat. It's no big deal. So we called around. They said we could use some propane furnaces. Luckily, we're right next door, and we have a clear shot of the house, so from where we were staying. And we ended up not finding any that we could rent, and thankfully, because we borrowed a friend of ours heater, and it walked off. We could have claimed that on our builder's risk insurance as theft, but the deductible would have cost. I mean, we'd have been paying it out in deductible. So we didn't make any fuss about it. We didn't make a claim with the insurance. Didn't want our rates to go up or anything. So we just went to I think Rural King and bought a new one for him and gave it to him, and he was gracious. He said we didn't have to do that. He had gotten his at a yard sale, but the amount of money that we spent, which was like $100 or so on a new propane heater, was worth the favor that he did for us. So we didn't feel put out about it. We didn't fuss about it too much with anybody. So that was one thing. Finally, we got our permanent electric in. It was no longer an issue. Another thing that we didn't see coming was, and this was actually before drywall stage, the cost for electric. I've never hired a professional electrician. I didn't know what to expect. I was hoping for maybe, I don't know, $750 for the things we wanted to add. We didn't know what he cost until he was here. So we didn't have like a night for us to just go to the house, walk through and be like, okay, well, we definitely want this. Well, can we live without that? Think about it, that kind of thing. We knew what we wanted, but we didn't know what all was included. We didn't know what all wasn't included. So that advanced planning time we didn't have. So we ended up adding about 17 or 18 can lights, a couple of additional light switches, 4 additional outlets, one or two in the garage, so that we can run like a deep freeze. Matt can have his power tools, that kind of thing. And then they ran the wiring and hung the boxes for ceiling fans. We installed the ceiling fans, but all of that was about $75 a piece. It's pretty much their going rate for anything they said they needed to add. So we ended up having to write a check to them that day for about $3,500. It was not expected. Thankfully, we had it in the bank. Otherwise, we'd have been knocking half this stuff off the list. But the one thing that I wish we would have had was even an estimate. We know we're going with this electrician. This is their list of costs for their clients. And if all it was additional light switches, additional can lights, additional XYZ. Just so we could have planned to know, oh, okay, well, we know that we need to be careful when we're adding on can lights because they're $75 a piece and all that. It would have been helpful, but like I said, thankfully we had it. It stunk that we had to take that much out of our savings, but it is what it is, basically, at this point. The next thing that kind of caught me off guard as they were installing our kitchen cabinets. They did the cabinets for the whole house, though, bathrooms, kitchen, and the office where I'm sitting right now. And they put in the hardware. And I remember in our design meeting and in our pre-construction meeting, I had said, I want to make sure everything is the brushed nickel. And the rep and I even went into the showroom to confirm that my kitchen cabinets were the right code. And we both said, oh yeah, this is the code. This looks like the code. Well, apparently that is not the code. We were looking at the code below and should have been looking above, or vice versa. So my kitchen cabinets came with chrome finishing. They had already fixed one thing for us in the house without a change order fee, no fuss about it. This was something kind of small. It would have been a change order fee of like $250 plus the cost to do it, which I asked him. Our builder, our manager was very nice, and he was trying to get the cost to see if I could just do it directly through them, and it was going to be about $70. Well, I found the same ones on Amazon for, I don't know, $35 to get enough to do the whole kitchen. So I just did that, and then I ended up selling the chrome ones to a friend for $20, and ended up only out like $15 all in the end. So it wasn't that big of a deal. It stunk, but nothing that upset the fruit basket too bad. The next thing, this one I don't even know if I want to talk about it, but I'm going to. We had paid for cedar beams on our back porch. On our contract, it says a 10-inch cedar beam posts on our back porch with a 12-inch beam across. We ended up with about 8-inch posts and like 9 to 9.5-inch beam across the top. When we asked them about that, the only answer we could ever get on it was, well, I don't know why that would have been in there. I don't know why they would have put that on your contract. I said, I don't know, but I initialed and signed here for it. This is when they quoted us the price. They quoted us based on these measurements. It ended up that we didn't get anything back on that, and it was kind of just well, it is what it is. We could have probably pushed harder for some sort of compensation back on the difference of what it would have cost. The thing is, it's beautiful as it is. I'm not upset with the handiwork on it. I'm not upset with the size. My husband was a little bit more of a stickler about wanting it to be larger. Let me see if I can show you. It's those cedar posts with the beams. It's not a deal breaker for me at the size that they are right now. So, had we wanted to push harder, it would have pushed back our move-in date. We would not have been able to move in the house. We would have had to go to third party and just mitigate it with us and someone else. So it wasn't worth it. We didn't fight with them about it very much. We came in under budget by quite a bit, so we weren't. Like I said, if I wasn't happy with the size, if it didn't look good, if it didn't look right, I maybe would have caused more fuss about it. But that's probably the biggest ick about, and not an ick. It's just like it's a feeling of, that's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, but oh well. So I feel like kind of we're settling on it, kind of not though, because it's still gorgeous and I love it, and I've told YouTube world now, but I've been telling Matt, like, if we don't tell anybody, they're not going to know that it's not the size it's supposed to be. So here I am sharing it with all of you. And the next thing I'll talk about is when we were moving in, I did not even think about asking about paint finishes. Everything in the house is a commercial flat paint, which is beautiful. You can see, look behind me and in there. It looks beautiful. It is gorgeous, but it is very fragile. And by that I mean, you touch it, you got a scuff. Lord, if you, God forbid, your kid have sticky fingers or food on their fingers, because we have a 4-year-old and we have a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old, and their bedroom goes right through, let's see if I can show you, right through that door over there by the fireplace. And God forbid they get running to go around that corner, because they're hanging on for dear life, and everything that's on their hands is just wiping off on that door frame. So luckily we've got all the extra paint downstairs, and once we get settled, maybe for another month or so, there's a couple nicks and dings from moving in and installing things and screws not being in the right place that we have to fill holes and repaint over. So I'm kind of letting them get their wiggles out first before I go back and be a perfectionist right now. But there's, like, my 4-year-old took her lip gloss and covered it on her fingers and then just smeared it right next to her bed, and that was week 1. So you can imagine me wanting to keep it nice and fresh and new, and then I've got lip gloss fingerprints all over her wall. But so yeah, had I thought about it, also in the bathrooms, it's all the flat paint when you think you need, like, I feel like in a bathroom you need at least a semi-gloss, for, God forbid it get too steamy and someone forgot to turn on the fan and you get drips down the wall or what have you. It's, I think when we go back and do new coats, because I love the colors, but if I ever want to change the colors, I'll be changing the finish as well. I love the look of the matte, but I feel like, at least while we have children, it's in the house, it's not practical. It's not easy to clean. You have to kind of clean it with like your pinky and like a microfiber cloth, and barely put any pressure on it. But so yeah, that's something I just didn't think about. I guess we could have upgraded and paid more for a different finish. I just didn't even think about it. I guess I just assumed in bathrooms it would be a certain finish, but in your meetings, that's something that they don't bring up, but it's also not specified. You don't think about it. I don't even remember if it's specified on our contract now that I think about it. I don't know. I would have never thought to think about it, because I guess I just figured, well, of course they're going to use semi-gloss in the bathrooms. No, they use flat. So that's something to think about. And I think those are the main bumps in the road. We had a few after we moved in, but I'm going to kind of leave those for a different video, because I want to talk about things that have gone on since we've moved in. Nothing terrible. So yeah, I'll be posting that video sometime as well. But I wanted to let you guys touch base with you guys and let you know we have moved in. We're loving it. Every night I tell Matt, I'm like, I love this house. I love the open floor concept. I've never had an open floor concept, but each time we use a vacation rental site for going on vacations, and whenever we rent a home, it's been an open concept, and I've always loved it, and I've always thought, oh man, this would be so nice, and I was right. It's nice. I love having the open floor concept. It's everybody's all right together, and I'm used to living in old houses where everything has its own room, and you're walking room to room to room, and which is, it has its own charm as well. But after 35 years of that, I'm excited about having an open floor concept, and Eventually finishing out our basement so that our kids, because that means everybody's together all the time. Of course, there's pros and cons to that. But in the next few years, we're wanting to start refinishing our basement because we didn't do anything finished. We did have them put in a rough-in for a bathroom down there, but we didn't do anything down there. So we're wanting to do some sort of finishing down there. I don't know how much we're gonna budget for that, but we're gonna do that ourselves. We flipped our first house. My dad's handy. He built their first house, which is just down the road off the farm. So yeah, we gonna put up some walls and some flooring and electrical down there so that that the kids have a play area downstairs that's separate for grown-ups. Especially for when they get older. I always said I wanted to have a place where my kids could be at home but still separate from us. That way they didn't feel like they always had to leave the house. Because I am going to be like my parents were, and I'd rather know where my kids are and let them have some freedom here than be going out all over the place. So to give them a space downstairs would be awesome. I'm excited and looking forward to hopefully having a house where kids feel welcome to come and just walk in and grab their snack and go hang out. And I want our house to be a place of peace and comfort and just our own little secluded hideaway from the world. And right now it is. I'm loving living in the country. It's forcing us to slow down a bit, which is, I think, definitely what we needed after the year we had last year. You know, we just got into 2021, so I'm hoping it's going to be a better year. And I don't know. So far, so good. So I'll be posting another video, like I said, about some after we moved in things we wish we would have done differently soon. So thank you. Have a good one.